Okay, so we're back. Now this is going to be the second video. I just skimmed over and reviewed the first video I made, and I left off discussing, for anyone who's following over, what I was discussing was how the rock figure, in my opinion, is just not taken as seriously anymore. And honest to God, I really even think all music figures aren't taken as seriously as they were. Like, we got to go back in time now, guys, and we have to remember, Dylan was bringing in political changes, at the time. There are people who would tell you, if you talk to some people who were around back then, Vietnam veterans, for instance, they'll tell you that people like Dylan and everything. I mean, Dylan was there, man, when I think he was there the day Martin Luther King made the, famous "I Have a Dream" speech. He was there, man, and Joan Baez was there, and these folk figures, and even Hendrix. I mean, what a political statement he made with the Star Spangled Banner performance, and so where did it go? Where did it skid off the tracks? Well, that's what we're trying to figure out here, and I don't know the answer either. I mean, nobody knows it. This is just speculation. But so I was discussing how they're not seen as quite a serious figure anymore, and one of the reasons I think was because back then it seems that the people, like the audience who listened to a lot of these songs, I don't know if people were just like the audience who read this stuff. I don't know if maybe people were just more interested. I don't know what it is, but I swear to God, in all music now, I think that most people don't take things as seriously. And the other problem is that they don't allow the artists to age. And I do think this is a big problem. Young people refuse to listen to. Many times, 9 times out of 10, you will find that many young people absolutely refuse to listen to old rock songs. And then again, too, we have to question, well, what was so different about someone like, say, oh, geez, who could we reference? I mean, Elvis, really. It really all goes back to Elvis, actually. This is what I wanted to discuss. This has been on my mind a lot lately. I had been working on an essay about this, and I was really getting into it. I was trying to discuss how Elvis Presley, I don't think many Americans realize now, I suppose young ones certainly don't, but years ago, in the 1940s, so now we're going back in time, and we're taking the Wayback Machine, dude. And back in the 1940s, the big acts were like these really, really dreadfully kind of serious fellows. I mean, just in the Italian-American culture, when you see the people who were coming out to represent, you got Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Bing Crosby. I mean, he wasn't Italian, but, you got all these people. And you think about these acts, they had often the orchestra behind them. The songs were adult oriented. They weren't dirty songs, but they were certainly written, I think, with adults in mind. I mean, even take the song by Sinatra, "The Lady Is a Tramp." Well, what is he talking about in that song? He's talking about really adult issues, and this was a big song at the time. Now, that was I think that was a hit. I think those were some hit songs. "My Way" by Frank Sinatra. It's about the end of life. What's that other song he has? "It's Been a Good Year." Yeah, I think that's what it's called. "It's Been a Good Year" or something. And wait a minute. Let's see. "It's Been a Good Year." Sinatra. Let's see here. You got to bear with me here. We're just gonna take our time from now on. No, it was a very good year. I think that was a hit. I mean, we can double check. Let's see. I bet you it went pretty high up in the charts. Let's find out. Maybe I'm wrong. Alright, so it was composed in 1961. It was made famous by Sinatra, it says here. And, I mean, so many people covered it. As we look over the list now, we see that Ray Charles covered it. Dee Snider covered it in 2011. Going back even further, some of the names I don't recognize. Boris Karloff. I recognize William Shatner, Herb Alpert, and the Tijuana Brass. That was a great little group out of Mexico, man. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. They were great. The Kingston Trio introduced the song in '61. I think it was... It's not saying if it was a hit. Oh, yeah, it peaked at number 28 on the United States pop chart and became Sinatra's first #1 single on the easy listening charts. So, what? Like, I just feel like nowadays, you would... this song is talking about life as a whole. And I don't think... And then they even confront death at the end, you know, of an old man. Not, you know, oh, someone was shot down in the streets sort of thing. It was, you know, he's confronting it at the end of the song. And I do swear to God, you just don't see this in music anymore. The hit songs now seem to be totally sold only to children. Only to, or not children, but, you know, teenagers. And that is really largely because of the 1950s, and the 50s was when Frank's star started to wane. Now hold on, I'm going to cut the video off. So, Sinatra's star started to wane. Frank Sinatra's star began to wane without doubt in the 1960s with, or no, rather in the 1950s, really, it even started to wane. I mean, he's still surfing the wave, you know, like, he surfs it up to, like, you know, he surfs it for a while, you know what I'm trying to say, but his star starts to wane, and, you know, that type of music definitely, like, vanishes, from the aura, I think, really, in the 50s. Like, I think if you could go back to the 1950s, you know, living room in the USA, and you could walk into the living room and ask the kid, like, hey, kid, you know, what do you dig, man? He's going to be like, oh, you know, Elvis Presley. And if you ask him, hey, what about, you know, Frankie? You know, what about old Blue Eyes? They're going to be like, dude, Blue Eyes, he's a loser. You know, so, I think so. I think that was the general idea. And, you know, what was it really with those early rock acts? You know, a lot of the time, and I was saying this to my buddy the other day, it's funny because you think about how trendy, I mean, it has become a trend now for kids to, you know, to rock, the Pink Floyd t-shirt, or the Zeppelin t-shirt, or, who else? The Doors. You know, these are like, they're like mythological things. It's like Marilyn Monroe. You know, nobody actually even knows anything about Monroe. They just see the picture, and it's like, it's really interesting, actually, how her face is stuck around in the culture. I feel like very few people actually know anything about her. But, you know, there she is. You know, it's always Marilyn Monroe. I mean, you know, how many people even realize her name was Norma Jean? But, you know, Norma Jean, and, you know, I mean, Elton John had that song about her. But, that is a great song, by the way. Honest to God, guys, that's one of the best songs, I think, ever written. If you want my opinion on what music I really dig, again and again, that song, Candle in the Wind by Elton John, dude, phenomenal. But, on to another thing is what I was saying, is, you know, so we see that it's become this trend now, like, all, you know, young kids do dig these old rock groups, but at the same time we see that there's no music like those old rock groups. Like, I've said this again and again, there has never been another Doors. I can't even think of a band remotely like them in any respect. And I do find it weird because I know I'm going off on a tangent again, but I will do this and you have to bear with me. And I'm sorry, but I talk fast because I have to, the train is rolling. So anyways, there's never been another group like the Doors. Now, I do think it's a bit of a shame because in music there is this shaming connected, this huge shaming thing, and I don't like it. Like, in movies, we see that this no one gives a crap. They've made 8 Fast and the Furiouses now. That's ridiculous. And, but, you know, for people who want to go see the car and the zoom zoom and the bang bang and all that and the fireworks or whatever the hell they watch in those movies, I mean, hey, man, it's all right. You know, something works, you keep doing it. And yet in music, we see this does not happen. No one has ever even tried, really, in my opinion, to imitate the sound that the Doors achieved. I mean, even the keyboard's place in rock and roll. Guys, think about it. Where did the keyboard go? Or no, Ray Manzarek was using an organ. I mean, when you think about the instruments that were being used in the Doors, it was Ray Manzarek on the organ. On a frigging organ, man. Really think about that. And what was it, like an electric piano? They had no bass player. Then they had Robbie Krieger on the lead guitar. He often didn't even play rhythm. He just played lead. He just played licks. And then John Densmore, of course, still with us on the drums. And then, of course, you had Jim on the vocals. And what an interesting coming together of people. What? Oh my God! And we've never seen it again. I mean, we really don't even really. That's the other problem, and the other gripe I definitely have with rock is where is the organ now? When I think of rock groups, I feel like I very rarely see it. At least in big names. You have to remember, I'm talking mainstream. I mean, indie stuff. Guys, it's impossible to trace. There's indie groups popping up all over, but something doesn't really matter until it's famous. Then it means it's having an effect on the culture. So you can reference those indie. I mean, people do. I see it. They're like, "Well, there's still good music because there's indie bands." Come on, man, there's indie bands. Don't you know about them? There's indie bands, and it's like, yeah, there's indie bands, but dude, nobody knows who they are. Like, the average chick on the street or something. They're like, you're like, oh, do you know? Of Ice and Fire times 5,000. Like, nobody knows who that is, man. So just, get over it. It doesn't make a difference. The Doors were mainstream. Zeppelin was mainstream. Pink Floyd was mainstream. I mean, even the Floyd sound, man. Where is that? Dude, that was great music. Where the hell is that? And how could we have not? Is it because of a lack of talent? Absolutely not. There is talent out there. I know this, fellows. I know this, sisters. You know what I'm saying? There is talent out there. But it's not a lack of talent. Never say that. Never think that. Please, people in the world, never believe that this crap music on the radio that we currently receive, they're force-fed in a way from day to day. Never, ever think it's because of a lack of talent. Guys, there are talented people all over the place. They're in, friggin' Syria. They're in sub-Saharan Africa. They're in Maine. They're in friggin' Texas. They're in California. Guys, they're everywhere. They're in Jersey. They're in Italy, Spain, Greece. They're in every country, guys, waiting to bring us great music, but for some reason not being heard. And why is that? I mean, has popular taste changed? Yes, it has. So we're looking at the Doors, and we're questioning, and well, I was talking about Frank initially. I mean, this is what's so bad. You know what? When you're writing something, it's slow. When you're talking, it's like a train, So, and again, I'm not a great speaker. I know this. But I do think it has something to do with this disconnect. And again, I was trying to make the point that Elvis was really one of the first artists sold really just to like teenagers. Then this takes us back to Chuck Berry. We're going to pick up with Chuck Berry. Ciao.